Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Wallsend history story. This week is another video in the Wallsend pubs and clubs series. However, this one will include several pubs, as these are what I call more recent ones, as in they were not there in the 1800s or even the early 1900s, so they don't have quite as much history about them. But I still wanted to include them as part of the pub series. So in some ways this is just a roundup of all the central Wallsend pubs to complete the set rather than a true history story, but I hope that you will still enjoy it. The first one I am covering is the Powder Monkey, sometimes these days just referred to as the Monkey. This is definitely a more modern pub, opened in December of 1985, and the pub was named by means of a competition. Whilst I don't know how many entries there were in total, I do know that 31 entries came up with the name of the Powder Monkey. A newspaper article which ran at the time said the winner was chosen after all 31 entries were put into a hat, and the winners were Mr. and Mrs. Grew. Their prize was a weekend break at Any Crest Hotel with £200 spending money, and they were also the first members of the public to drink in the pub. The name the Powder Monkey, so the paper said at the time, was because of a famous shaft of the same name that was at one of the local collieries. However, I have also heard others say that it was named after the powder monkeys who were in charge of the explosives at the mines. So, as is often the case, there was no 100% confirmed answer to where the name came from. The couple who won the prize for naming the pub said it was very much needed in the area, as the nearest pub was quite a long walk away. I am guessing, depending which direction you were walking, that could have either been the Rising Sun or the Dorset. The Powder Monkey had cost £500,000 to build, and it was officially opened by Councillor Jim Bamborough. Since its opening, the pub has undergone some changes, with the addition of a family room in 1994, which had a TV and video player, and it was said that they were encouraging children to bring their own videos to watch. Also added was an outside play area with the aim of making the pub more family friendly. The cost of the refurbishment at the time had been £50,000, and the then licensee Tommy Sword said he thought it was a job well done. I have been in the Powder Monkey many times. It was even where I spent part of my hen night many moons ago, and as of 2023 it is still open and still trading as a public house. I am sure that many of you listening will have drank there in the past, and I am sure that many of you still go there now, and I would love to hear your memories of the place. The next pub I am covering is the Bush in Hadrian Park. Although the actual information about the pub itself is quite limited, there are some interesting stories of fundraising events held there in its early years. Opened in the early 1980s, most likely 1982, it was said that the name possibly came from the time when the Romans arrived in Britain, when they would hang bushes up outside of buildings to let people know this was where to buy alcohol. So the pub names such as the Holly Bush, the Bull and Bush, and of course the Bush later became popular. One of the early licensees of the pub was Frank Cordes and his wife Sheila. They had previously been well known for their fundraising for good causes, and this would continue at the Bush. One of the first things that they raised money for was in 1986 to set up a trust to help a young boy whose mother was tragically dying from a rare form of cancer. The pub regulars rallied round, and the cause was already doing well just a short while after it had been set up. In 1987, an Australian landlord by the name of Danny Kernigan, flew to the UK to spend some time working in the Bush, which had been twinned with his pub in Australia thanks to Castlemaine Forex. Danny also brought his daughter and grandson with him, and Frank and Sheila Cordes helped him to plan some days out, as well as allowing him to pull a few pints behind their own bar. In the following years, the couple continued to raise more money for charity, even when, sadly, Frank was diagnosed with cancer himself in 1988. One of the events was a sponsored bed push of Frank in his hospital bed from the Freeman Hospital to his home at the Bush. The fundraising was helping to raise £2,000 for the Freeman. And one of the last events I found details of was in March of 1989, when Frank, his wife and the regulars from the Bush were taking part in a sponsored walk from Tynemouth to Whitley Bay, this time to raise funds for the General Hospital. I did not find out how much money they raised and sadly found no further details of either Frank or his wife, but they certainly helped the Bush to become a fundraising pub while they were in charge. I have only been in the pub in the Bush once, many years ago, but I am sure that many of you will have drank there over the years and will have some good memories of the place. Maybe some of you even took part in the fundraising events of the 80s. As of 2023, the Bush is still open and still trading as a public house. The next pub I am covering is actually a club, and it's the West Home Farm Social Club. This one has been there a little bit longer than the others, having opened in the mid-1960s. However, this one was sadly lacking in any history, as it seems it wasn't one that was talked about much in the old newspapers, so there truly is very little to be said about it. I had hoped to find some details of its opening, but found nothing, though I don't doubt that it would have been covered in the Wallsend Weekly News, but unfortunately I don't have any access to that newspaper. However, I did not want to miss this out, as the West Home is still a very popular club and very well used. I think I have been in once, many years ago, but I am sure that many of you watching will have some stories that you can tell about the place, and as of 2023 it is still open and still trading as a social club. The next pub I am covering is the Jolly Borman in Battle Hill. It is said that the pub was built and opened in 1985, but like many of the later public houses, they seemed to open with very little fanfare, unlike the older pubs that often seem to have an opening event and a full description in the local papers. This again was a pub where the name was chosen by means of a competition. The pub was built in the area of one of the old collieries and stood on what was known as the Borman seam, so the name Borman was an obvious choice for most people, and while it was a popular choice, it was said that another pub in the surrounding area, Shiremoor I believe, had a similar name, so the word Jolly was added to make it a little different. Unfortunately, I don't know who won the competition to name this one, so if anyone listening does know, do please let me know. I am reliably informed that the shafts belonging to the Edward Pit are in the car park of the Jolly Borman and are covered by two large brick planters. However, when I was going round taking the pub photos recently for this video, I stupidly forgot to take a photo of those. I can remember going to the Jolly Borman quite a lot around 2005-2006. I used to go for the pub quiz, and I am sure that many of you listening will have good memories of this pub, and some of you probably still go there, as of 2023, the pub is still open and still trading as a public house. The next pub I am covering is another club. Sadly, again, this is one where I was unable to find very much out about it, and it is the Barking Dog, which stands on the Rising Sun sports field. Opened in the early 1960s, it was originally known as the Barking Dog Working Men's Club. Many people will remember this area for the whippet racing in the past, which was very popular, and I also remember it for football matches, and I believe that many football matches are still played on the field there today. This is a club that I have never been in, but I am sure, as always, that many of you listening will have been there and possibly still drink there today, as in 2023 it is still open and trading as the Barking Dog Sports Club. To round off this video, I thought I would include the Wallsend, which is without a doubt the newest of the pubs in this video. Opened in around September of 2013, this was purpose-built for the Green King Company. It stands on Middle Engine Lane, close to B&Q, and is part of the Hungry Horse chain. It has its own car park and kids' play area to the rear of the pub. Not only is this without a doubt the newest pub in the area, it's also one with absolutely no history about it at all. But I didn't feel this video would be complete without adding it in, as it is one of the pubs that I would still class as being in central Wallsend. I have never been in here at all, but I would guess that many of you listening will have been to the Wallsend for meals and drinks since it opened. I do hope that you have enjoyed this video, even if only for its little pub crawl benefit, as said at the beginning, these are pubs with a lot less history or available information to tell. But I do still have several pubs and clubs of Howdon and Willington Quay to cover, so it's not quite the end of the pub series just yet. I do thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again very soon.